Government and opposition legislators, they've been at odds over the passage of the legislation enacted by the United States government in March 2010. TNT's financial standings and the Trinidad and Tobago government once again acceded to opposition requests, or should we say opposition requests for a further extension on the debate of the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley indicating that a vote on the legislation will take place on February 23. We have investment expert, founder and managing director of Boss Security Limited, former independent senator, and I believe head of the independent bench. Coordinator. Thank you so much. Subhas Ramkhelawan is here. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning to you and our viewing audience.
Now, as former coordinator of the independent senators, I want to get your take on the statements by the Attorney General with an ethos towards removing the 3/5 majority. What's your take on that?
Well, the removal of the 3/5 majority will require an amendment to the Constitution itself, because the whole question of different levels of majority speak to the question of property rights and the rights of persons. And to change the Constitution may require a 3/4 majority, which is a majority that is not held currently by the current administration of the PNM. So it will be interesting to see how one goes about trying to do that, to change the 3/5 majority. Governments come and go, but constitutions are held as sacred. And those constitutional requirements, cannot be tampered with willy-nilly, in my respectful view.
But if you don't try to change the Constitution, but you try to bring pieces of legislation that address certain issues that don't require the 3/5, and you basically build something up like Lego?
Well, that is something that you can do, but at some time you will come across property rights, you will come across human rights that cannot be easily sidestepped, and that is at the heart of it. Remember, a constitution speaks to the rules of engagement of all parties, and the Constitution overrides all other elements. And if you want to change the Constitution, get that the 3/4 majority that may be required to change the Constitution, and then off you go.
And part of the reason that we're actually discussing, or the 3/5 majority is being discussed, is because of the conversation, the dialogue around FATCA.
Yes.
Who's in the fire feels the heat? Are we feeling the heat enough?
I suppose that is part of the frustration, that what was seemingly a pretty straightforward bill, given the history of the deliberations that would have taken place in the former administration and in the current administration with regard to FATCA, that really causes this kind of frustration. The fact is that FATCA has been around, as you rightly said, since 2010. Positions have been taken and agreements have been made, whether it be in cabinet or otherwise. Now it is the time for the lawmakers, the parliament of the country, to make a determination. But to so do, you need that 3/5 majority. And it is not something that is easily obtainable in the lower house, certainly not obtainable if the opposition is minded to vote against the bill. I think at the end of the day, our citizens need to be very clear on what the implications of FATCA would be in the simplest of terms. If there is going to be a withholding for non-compliant countries of 30%, it means that everything is going to revolve around that withholding. Means that if you send a payment of $100, 30% will be taken away from that, so it will be $70. So you would have to gross up your payment to get back to the $100 that you need to pay to counterparties. What does that mean, essentially? It means that businesses who want to do business will have to pay more because there is a tax, quote unquote, on the funds that you send. Secondly, it means that persons who do not engage in business necessarily, but are consumers, they will have to bear the brunt of that increased cost. So you can see a situation in that scenario of runaway inflation because we import most of our food, and therefore that's a very important component. We import most of our capital goods, and that's a very important component. So that is the bottom line. We have to work towards what is in the best interest of the country, not in what necessarily might be in the best interest of any particular group at this point in time. The best interest of the country will be served by ensuring that our citizens are taken care of. It would be nice to say we do not have to subscribe to US requirements. It would be nice to say that, but it is virtually impossible to so do because our currency of trade, our hard currency, is the US currency.
What kind of precedent does it set when you have banking institutions basically screaming, sign it, exceed, let's do this? We already have this stuff in place ready for it.
Well, at the end of the day, I personally believe that the legislation will be passed. I believe that we are, right now, the lawmakers are looking to get, shall we say, the most airplay and benefit out of it. I cannot believe that it would be in the best interest of the country to not pass the bill. And therefore, I believe that we have good legislators and good sense will prevail. If I am wrong, mea culpa. But if I am wrong, I will lose the kind of confidence that we have or ought to have in our lawmakers and in the parliament of this country.
Should we include the banking practices in terms of like interest rates and stuff in the same conversation, because that is something that has been done?
Well, yes, all costs, if there is a withholding of all money flows across the US system, all costs will go up because essentially if you have to place, if a bank has to place its investments abroad, those investments will be subject to the withholding, and therefore if that is subject to withholding, they will have to pay less, they will have to charge more interest, and so on.
But differently, what I'm saying is that people have been saying, well, should we listen to the banks who are crying and saying, okay, well, sign this, because it seems as though the fees that you all are charging citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are so exorbitant?
I think there are two separate issues. The first is whether we can continue to do business. The second is what would be the cost of doing business. And the third is what would be the impact on every citizen of this country. And apart from the withholding, if we are quote-unquote blacklisted, there will be companies that will not want to do business with companies in Trinidad and Tobago because of the extreme headache of administration and doing business with Trinidad and Tobago, going through all of the rigors of trying to get business. So Trinidad is a small place. Its buying power is relatively small. How many businesses and counterparties out there would want to do business, large international companies and so on, things like medicines and so. How many of them would want to do business in a country that has taken a deliberate decision by way of its parliament not to accede to a piece of legislation which has been acceded to across the world by many countries?
And we leave it right there. Hopefully people who need to are hearing it and ruminating on that. But thank you so much, Mr. Ramkhelawan. Subhas Ramkhelawan on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago.